This meeting to order. It is May 13th, 2025, 10 a.m. here in Globe. And I have asked Tiffany Porch if she would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And then I believe Mr. James Menlove will lead us in a prayer after that. If you would, please stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear kind and gracious Heavenly Father, we bow our heads before you morning with gratitude in our hearts. The great country, the freedom, the blessings that are ours because of it. We pray that we always protect the freedoms and the Constitution. We're all grateful that, of course, that we such homes as well. Liberate visions from the good Gila County. We pray for those who are less fortunate and those who have need of our blessings and our friends in the name of Jesus Christ.
Amen. Thank you. Okay, so our first item is presentation 2A. And it's a presentation by the Arizona Auditor General's Office regarding Gila County's fiscal year 2024 financial and single audit results and findings. And we have Maren Belling with us, but it looks like, if this is accurate, I have the names: Taryn Stengel, Daniel Hunt, and Melanie Chesney.
So we actually, Mr. Chair, if I may, we have Dan Hunt, Catherine Edwards-Decker, and Eric Hale with us this morning.
Okay.
I apologize, my agenda item didn't update there, but it is on the presentation correctly.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
So I'd like to welcome Dan and Catherine and Eric as they present our 2024 financial statement findings.
Very good. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairman Christensen, members of the board, County Manager Menlove. I'm Catherine Edwards-Decker. I am the Financial Audit Division Director for the Arizona Auditor General's Office. Thank you for inviting our office today to join your regular meeting and present our audit results and findings for Gila County. Joining me today, as we established, Dan Hunt. He's one of my deputy managers, and he was responsible for, he helped oversee your audit this year. I also have Eric Hale with me today. He is a financial audit senior, and he was responsible for a lot of the detailed test work that we performed. Just to give you a brief reminder of who we are, our office is a legislative agency, and we are made up of nonpartisan staff. We provide impartial information and specific recommendations to improve operations and programs of state and local governments, which includes Gila County. We are well versed and follow several authoritative standards, including governmental auditing standards. Similar to our previous presentations to the board, we are here today in accordance with Arizona Revised Statutes 11661D, which directs the county board to require its auditors, which is our office, to present audit results and findings to the board in a regular meeting without the use of a consent agenda and within 90 days of your audit's completion. This is a great opportunity for us as your auditors to be in front of you and to provide information about our work and to answer any questions you may have. Before we get started, I just wanted to go over some of the auditor responsibilities that we communicated to the board prior to starting our fiscal year 2024 audit. I'll just walk through a few of those responsibilities with you, and then I'll follow it up with some of the county's responsibilities. So as your auditors, our responsibility is to plan and conduct these audits of the county's financial statements and federal compliance audit in accordance with U.S. generally accepted auditing standards, governmental auditing standards, as well as uniform guidance. We obtain reasonable assurance whether the county's financial statements are free of material misstatements. While reasonable assurance is high, it is not absolute. With that being said, the risk of identifying a material misstatement due to fraud is more complex than through error. Just the nature of fraud, because a lot of times it is a collaborative process. It could involve management not using or overriding internal controls and other complicating factors. As your auditors, we consider internal controls relevant to the county's preparation and fair presentation of its financial information. And then we design appropriate audit procedures to test that information. We perform a variety of tests of controls and compliance within certain provisions of laws, regulations, contracts, and grant agreements, specifically on the federal compliance audit side. We also will communicate to you significant matters for both of those audits, and this is completed through communications you receive directly from our office. We express our opinions concerning whether the county's financial statements and schedule of expenditures of federal awards were presented and fairly in all material aspects. Finally, we report any internal control deficiencies and instances of non-compliance that we find. On the county side, similar to our responsibilities, we ask that county management acknowledge and that they are responsible for preparing and fairly presenting financial statements, related note disclosures, and all accompanying information in accordance with U.S. generally accepted accounting principles and uniform guidance. County management is responsible for designing and implementing internal controls over the county's financial statement preparation and internal controls to prevent and detect fraud. Evaluate and monitor the county's compliance with laws and regulations, as well as contracts, grant agreements that have a direct and material effect on the county's statements and administration of federal programs. County management is also responsible for following up and taking corrective action on audit findings, which includes providing us with a corrective action plan and summary status of those findings each following year. Last but not least, you provide our auditors with all of the information they need, including unrestricted access to staff, documentation, information systems, and any resources necessary. This also includes meeting deadlines that were previously agreed to at the start of the engagement. Together with the county, we had established a report issuance deadline of March 31st, 2025. And due to the county's responsiveness, we were able to meet that deadline. So thank you for all of your efforts in providing us with the requested information that we needed to complete our audit. Today, we'll be discussing the 3 issued reports, which I have on the slide. First, the county's annual financial report, the report on internal control and compliance, and the federal single audit report. Each of these are dated for March 31st, 2025. We issued them together in one package as well. So for the first report, the annual financial report, this presents the county's annual financial statements and our opinion on them. The objective, again, of this audit is to obtain reasonable assurance whether the statements are, as a whole, free from material misstatement. I am pleased to report that we reported an unmodified or a clean opinion, which means the county's financial statements are reliable. Our second report, the report on internal control and compliance, this is where we report any findings and recommendations from the financial statement audit. This report includes 5 findings that Eric will go over with you shortly. Finally, the third and final report, the federal single audit report. This includes our assessment of the county's compliance with federal program requirements over each federal program we were required to audit. And the objective, again, of this audit is to obtain reasonable assurance about whether material non-compliance with compliance requirements occurred, and express an opinion on the county's compliance based on our audit. For this report, we have one finding for fiscal year 2024, and Dan will present that information to you. I'm now going to turn it over to Dan. He's going to present some financial highlights to you.
Thank you.
Because we know that these reports can sometimes be complex, we also prepare an audit's highlight. It's a 2-page summary that you received with the single audit report. The highlights include the county's largest primary revenue sources and how the county used those resources or monies over the last 10 years. The highlights also provide a brief information about our key findings and recommendations, if any, and contain links to current and prior year audit reports and user guidance that may be helpful in understanding the important information presented in the reports. I'd like to take this opportunity to present some key financial information presented in the county over the last 5 years. The county's main sources of revenue consists of federal and state grants, programs, county property taxes, shared state sales taxes, and county sales taxes. As you can see from this graph, the county's revenue for property taxes, shared state sales taxes, and county taxes have been relatively consistent over the past 5 years. Federal and state grants increased during fiscal years 2021 through 2023 because of increased federal grants that you received related to the COVID funding. However, these funds are limited, and their funds have been a significant reduction in the COVID-19 monies received for fiscal year 24, causing the decrease that you see in the graph here. As you can see from this graph, the county's 4 primary expense purposes consist of the general government, public safety, health and welfare, and highways and streets. While health and welfare and highways and streets expenditures have remained relatively consistent over the past 5 years, the general government expenses increased and decreased in 2021, 2022, and 2023, attributed to variations of the ARPA-funded projects and Local Assistance Tribal Consistency Fund, and remain fairly consistent between 2023 and 2024. Public safety expenditures remain fairly consistent between 2023 and 2024, but there were variations in 2021 through 2023 due to variations in expenditures related to the flood mitigation efforts after the Telegraph fire in the summer of 2021. On this slide, we highlight the 5-year trend of the county's revenues exceeding its expenditures. As you can see from the black line, the county's net position has increased every year since 2020, with the ending 2024 net position was $48.2 million. It is important to note that not all the net position balance is spendable at the end of fiscal year 2024 because $42 million of the balance was invested in capital assets, and the remaining balance was subject to external restrictions such as grants and contracts. Finally, I'd like to highlight the county's federal expenditures that are presented each year in the single audit report. Although the county received grants from 12 federal agencies during fiscal year 2024, you can see from the bar chart that most federal expenditures were from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Department of Agriculture, and Department of Treasury, as these grants represent over 69% of the county's federal expenditures during the 2024 fiscal year. However, the Department of Health and Human Services has had the largest portion of expenditures on average over the last 5 years. I will now turn the time over to Eric to discuss the 5 financial findings and their recommendations that we reported in the county's fiscal year 2024 reports.
The report on internal control and noncompliance is where you will find our financial audit findings, along with the county's responses to them. We reported 5 financial statement findings during the 2024 fiscal year. The first financial statement finding identified deficiencies in the county's process for restricting bank account access to only authorized employees and elected officials, and ensured county funds were only used for official county purposes. Specifically, for 10 county bank accounts, the county did not remove account signage for personnel no longer with the county. We recommended that county management should improve its policies and procedures over bank account access by restricting bank account access to only authorized employees, review current and prior bank account activity for the accounts with unauthorized signers to identify potential inappropriate activity, and develop and implement policies and procedures to ensure access to bank accounts are restricted to only authorized personnel. The second financial statement finding identified deficiencies in the county's purchasing card review and approval process. Specifically, the county did not ensure $31,108 of public monies its employees spent on food and beverages and other purchasing card expenditures were for authorized county business purposes. Therefore, we recommended that the county update and implement changes to its existing policies and procedures for purchasing card expenditures, to require card holders to maintain supporting documentation if an authorized county business purpose is not evident from the invoice, receipt, or other support, indicate whether purchasing cards can be used to purchase food and beverages, and if so, under what circumstances the purchases would be an acceptable use of public monies, such that they would serve a public purpose and benefit the county and its residents, and indicate when pre-approvals allowing travel expenses to exceed the allowable per diem travel rates are acceptable, and what documentation should be obtained after the purchase to demonstrate or explain the purchase's public purpose and benefit when meals or other travel costs exceeded the allowable rates or lowest costs available. We also recommended that the county require department supervisors responsible for reviewing and approving purchasing card transactions, including those for travel expenses, to approve only those transactions that are supported by documentation that evidence purchases are for authorized county business purpose, and to do so prior to the county's paying for them, and review travel expenditures that exceed the allowable per diem limit for reasonableness and require cardholders to reimburse the county for unreasonable expenses. We also recommended that the county require its finance department to develop and implement a process to monitor county departments' compliance with the county's purchasing card policies and procedures to help ensure that the county does not pay for purchases that do not have the required invoices, travel claims, receipts, or other documentation supporting that they are for authorized county business. Train all county employees who are purchasing card holders and department supervisors on its policies and procedures for using purchasing cards. Training should address detailed instructions for how to submit documentation for review and approval, what documentation to provide, and how to ensure procurement card purchases comply with constitutional provisions. A similar finding over purchasing cards has been reported since fiscal year 2017. The county reported that it concurs with the findings and plans to implement our recommendations by June 30, 2025. The third financial statement finding identified deficiencies in the county's process for awarding $30,500 to 4 organizations without ensuring that the monies were used only for economic development that benefited the public, resulting in an increased risk of misuse of county monies. We recommended that county management should ensure constituent funds discretionary monies used for economic development are spent to require awarded entities to certify how monies were spent. This certification should be required periodically, or at least once the specified and approved time frame for spending the monies has occurred, and specify follow-up procedures when awarded organizations do not respond to the county's request to certify how monies were spent. Also, follow up with awarded entities that did not certify how monies were spent, including those 4 awarded entities we identified, and determine whether monies were used for intended and authorized purposes to support economic development. If deficiencies are found, determine what corrective action should be taken, such as requiring awarded entities to return any unexpended or misspent monies, and or limiting future awards of discretionary monies. A similar finding was initially reported in fiscal year 2017. The county reported that it concurs with the finding and plans to correct the deficiencies by June 30, 2025. The fourth financial statement finding identified deficiencies in the county's process for managing and documenting its information technology risks. Specifically, the county's process for managing and documenting its risks did not include identifying, classifying, and inventorying sensitive information that might need stronger access and security controls. We recommend the county's administration and IT management should plan where to allocate resources and where to implement critical controls, perform an annual entity-wide IT risk assessment process that includes evaluating and documenting risks and safeguards, and evaluate and manage the risks for holding sensitive information by identifying, classifying, and inventorying the information the county holds to assess where stronger access and security controls may be needed to protect data in accordance with state statutes and federal regulations. A similar finding has been reported since fiscal year 2014. The county continues to work toward implementing our prior recommendations, and the county concurred with our finding and reported that it anticipates fully correcting the deficiencies by June 30, 2025. The fifth and final financial statement finding identified deficiencies in the county's controls over its IT systems and data. Our report identifies several recommendations and includes implement comprehensive IT policies and procedures, and immediately develop a process to ensure the procedures are being consistently followed, immediately remove terminated employees' access to IT systems and data, and routinely review all other account access to ensure it remains appropriate and necessary. A similar finding has been reported since fiscal year 2014. As discussed earlier, county management and IT staff developed and began implementing comprehensive IT policy and procedures, and we're very appreciative of Carrie Bartling and Daryl Griffin for their assistance in our test work on these new policies and procedures. The county anticipates fully correcting the deficiencies by June 30, 2025. I'll now turn it back over to Dan, who will discuss the single audit finding and recommendation we reported on in the county's fiscal year 2024 reports.
I'll now go over our federal compliance finding that we reported in our single audit report. We found that the county did not maintain documentation that it had verified 5 of 9 vendors that we tested to ensure they were not suspended or debarred from doing business with the federal government or before making the purchases. These vendors were paid program monies totaling $740,467. We recommended that the county should verify and maintain documentation that vendors being paid more than $25,000 in federal program monies have not been suspended or debarred before doing business with the federal government. Develop policies and procedures and train staff to verify vendors' suspension and debarment status prior to making purchases by examining the federal government's sam.gov website, obtaining certification from the vendor, or adding conditions to the vendor's contract. And then maintain that documentation to the verification and procurement in the procurement files. The county reported that it concurs with this finding and plans to implement our recommendation by June 30th, 2025. I'd like to report that the county partially or fully corrected the prior year finding recommendations. Specifically, recommendations related to the economic development, purchasing card usage, IT risk assessment, and IT system access were partially corrected, and the conflict of interest and the federal, state, and local recovery funds reporting finding were fully corrected. This completes our presentation of the county's fiscal year 24 audit reports and associated findings. Are there any questions that we could answer concerning our audits?
Thank you for the presentation. Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no questions.
Supervisor Klein.
Well, I think for one, when it comes to the IT part, I doubt we'll ever get ahead of it. You know, we have people out there, that's their everyday job is how they're gonna rip us all off and get in those systems. I say that and also knowing that our IT people work very, very, very hard trying to stay ahead of it. But that's just a finding I'm sure I can look forward to the next 3 years. As far as the rest of it, thanks.
Okay, thank you. So just to clarify, there was no fraud found anywhere, just the right paperwork and, well, if I can just summarize, we need to clean up the way we report things, identify things, the paperwork trails and all of that. When you say it's fully corrected, is it still part of the finding then, or?
Well, the partially corrected ones, part of the recommendations that we had in the prior year were dropped off. So we don't have as many recommendations for those that are partially recommended.
Okay,
That's the difference. The fully corrected ones for like the conflict of interest and the reportable finding for the federal program are no longer in existence. They're not
Okay.
in the report.
so I think it's a good report. I want to ask you though, on the per diem, it was mentioned that the use of the card, charging and per diem rates, and who sets those rates?
Those are generally set by the county in the policy, and so therefore that's why we're recommending the policy modifications to make sure that that is clear.
Because with the prices of things going up, we have to keep up with those policies is really what you're recommending.
Right,
So we don't blast through them.
exactly.
Okay,
Yes, that's in the recommendation. That's part of
Okay.
the recommendation that I
Okay.
covered.
very good. I have no other questions. Yes, sir, Mr. Menlove.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I wanted to express appreciation to Maren Belling that keeps a handle on all this, and she works tirelessly to ensure that the county's finances are accurately reported and that the resources that the county has are adequately safeguarded. So I wanted to express appreciation to her. She does a really great job and is totally committed to ensuring that, as I said, reporting and security are fully encompassed. I do want to point out that a lot of these are for policies, and we do have a former employee of the Arizona Office of the Auditor General that is a contract working for us to go through all of our policies, financial policies, to help us ensure that they are where they need to be. And so we are working to address them, and all the ones that we have a lot of controls and things in place. In certain instances, as has been reported, the Auditor General felt that the controls were not sufficient according to what they wanted to look at. But Maren is doing a great job, and I really appreciate her and her team.
Yeah, thank you for that. I totally agree, along with many employees that we have trying to do the best that they possibly can. So I very much appreciate the report, and we look forward to seeing you again next year.
In my closing remarks, I'd like to thank you, Chairman Christensen, and the other members of the board, Manager Menlove, for the support that you've given us. And I also would like to thank the county and their staff, including Maren, again, that we have a professional working relationship with them, and we look forward to working with them again in the 25 fiscal year audit.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. All right, so let's move on to our regular agenda items. 3A, information, discussion, action to release James Menlove from the appointment of Gila County Clerk of the Board and appoint Charlotte, and I'm sorry, I have never pronounced your last name. Is it Asrarinezami?
Asteroid is on me.
That's what I thought I said. That's a hard one. And appoint as the Gila County Clerk of the Board, which will be effective on May 19th, 2025, and acknowledge Maria Cook as Deputy Clerk Senior, which will be effective May 19th, 2025. James.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, it was a great pleasure. I recommend that these two, we're so thrilled and excited to have found these two individuals that can contribute significantly to the Board of Supervisors office and to help keep us going forward. I know Marion, above all of us, is very thrilled that we have these two be appointed to the Clerk of the Board department.
Yeah, thank you.
And would highly recommend that you accept this and adopt this and appoint Charlotte as the Clerk of the Board. effective.
Did you have anything you'd like to say, Charlotte, or?
Oh,
Or
no,
both?
we're just extremely grateful and super excited.
Okay,
I echo that, yeah.
very good, very good. And some may not know, but you're the daughter of David Cook,
That's
right?
yeah.
And he used to be in the state legislature. Supervisor Humphrey.
I think it's a great thing. I've been trying to get this going for a couple years. And so I'm glad that we're finally getting to help Marion be able to go on with her retirement and that we can get on with the county. It's been a long deal. So thank you very much, and I appreciate it. And I think the clerk of the board is an important part to keep us square and straight with what we do and what we discuss. And so I look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Good. Supervisor Klein.
Thank you, ladies. Good job. Also, I'd like to point out that Maria came to work for us in our youth program back a while back and has stayed with us for how many years now?
Started in 2019.
Yep. So I'm really glad of that. Did a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, ladies. Best of luck to it. We look forward to working with both of you.
Thank you.
Okay,
They'll be starting be here on Monday.
okay. If we vote, so I will call for a motion. I will call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to release James Menlove for the appointment of Gila County Clerk of the Board and appoint Charlotte as Reina Zalmi as the Gila County Clerk of the Board per ARS 11-241, which will be effective on May 19th, 2025, and acknowledge Maria Cook as Deputy Clerk Senior, which will be effective on May 19th, 2025.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, ladies.
Congratulations.
Thank you, James. All right, we're on to item 3B, information discussion action to approve Schedule F to the Professional Services Agreement dated April 2nd, 2013, with Interim Public Management LLC for the continued consulting services of Interim Public Works Director Troy White through July 24th, 2025, for a total contract amount not to exceed $117,000.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, as you know, Mr. White has been serving as our interim public works director for a little over a month now. We need to extend that contract, and with the amounts, you as a board have that authority to extend a contract for Mr. White to serve as public works director.
Thank you, Supervisor Humphrey.
Yeah, I would just say the time that I've worked with him, I find him extremely efficient, and I really appreciate him stepping in to help us with our public works. And just curious on where we are with applications for that position, so that this doesn't go for a year or two. I hope, but especially at that cost. Are we getting some qualified applications in? And
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Humphrey, our applications are very limited and they're marginal at best as to being qualified for that role.
okay.
Supervisor Klein.
Troy, we didn't make you run away, I guess, huh? So, thank you for hanging out and being with us a while longer.
I've also met with Mr. White, and seems like a great fit for the time. And so I guess we'll hope for applications. I know he doesn't want the job permanently, and so we need to extend that contract out as needed. And then give Homero a call. I'm kidding. Yes, okay. Anyway, so we'll go ahead and I'll call for a motion on that then.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve Schedule F to the Professional Services Agreement dated April 2nd, 2013 with Interim Public Management LLC as
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Very good. All right. Now we'll move on to another item, 3C, information, discussion, action to ratify the Board of Supervisors' approval for County Manager James Menlove's signature on 10 soil sampling access agreements with Freeport-McMoRan, Miami Incorporated for the following properties that are owned by the state of Arizona in care of the Board of Supervisors. Do I need to list all these numbers, Marion? Okay. All right, the property are 205-07-004E, 206-02-013, 206-06-060, 206-06134, 206-06-310C, 206-06-311F, 206-315A, 207-05004B, 207-06026A, and finally 207-07020A.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Freeport-McMoRan came to Supervisor Humphrey and I, these parcels are in District 2, and related that they were going to do testing throughout this whole area, testing the soils to make sure that they're not contaminated from the long history of mining and such that's existed. And also that the particulates that may be in the exhaust and things of the smelter, that they have not impacted the soils. So they're doing that to a number of parcels throughout this area. These are the ones that belong to Gila County and wanted permission to be able to go and do that testing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Humphrey.
Yeah, I think it's a great program, and I think it's showing very much responsibility of them for doing the testing rather than not. My hat's off to them for reaching out to be sure that they're fair and doing what they should in our county. And so my hat's off to them very much. I think it's a great program, and I think it's great that we can support them any way that we can as they go forward.
Great. Supervisor Klein.
What exactly are they testing for?
Contaminants.
Of whatever nature?
Yes.
Lead?
Yes.
On and on and on. Okay.
Did you, Mr. Chairman, sorry, Humphrey, that was your understanding, just contaminants in the soil that
Yes.
could impact?
Yes, and then if it is contaminated, then the future will go to where they will remove a certain depth to depending on what their testing was and replace it if necessary, as depending on what the testing did and where it goes with it. And so, yeah, from my understanding, but I'm sure as we go forward with them getting these things in line, we'll have a lot more meetings with them on how they're going to proceed.
Thank you. So are these properties owned by Freeport?
These particular properties, Mr. Chairman, are owned by Gila County.
Oh, that's right.
In
State owned.
Yeah, the state in care of Gila County.
Oh,
In other words, they've been tax properties that didn't sell for tax purposes, so therefore they were state properties, but in care of Gila County.
very good. Okay. All right, thank you. If there's no questions, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to ratify the Board of Supervisors' approval for County Management James Menlove's signature on 10 soil sampling access agreements with Freeport-McMoRan, Miami Incorporated as presented.
And I'll second that.
Motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Thank you, James. Item 3D, information discussion action to adopt a proclamation number 2025-06, and that's proclaiming the month of May 2025 as Treatment Court Month in Gila County. And we have Chief Keefe.
Yep, Chief Rob Keefe. It rhymes, I know. Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, Chairman and members of the board. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you today, just for a few moments to tell you a little bit about our drug court program in Gila County. It's a program that we're quite proud of and that we're also going to be expanding here this year. So I'm just going to give you a couple of background facts about drug courts, and that is that drug courts have been found to be one of the most successful justice system interventions in our nation's history for reducing crime by addressing substance use and mental health disorders. Also, treatment courts on average save more than $6,000 for every individual they serve. And that savings comes from fewer crimes committed, fewer prosecutions, and fewer incarcerations. And let's see if I can operate this. All right. In 2024, there were over 1,600 people who died from opioid overdoses in Arizona, and fentanyl accounted for 60% of those deaths. And specifically, 11 of those overdose deaths occurred in Gila County. And so fentanyl is still an issue, opioid is still an issue, as well as other drugs. Fentanyl is coming into our state and into our county at levels we've never seen before. But luckily, by the efforts of the police departments, they are catching a lot of fentanyl, but I'm sure a lot of it's still getting through. But we still have a lot of work to do. When I see these stats, I know that we've had some successes in our drug court program. And not just our program, just also the treatment providers in Gila County, the work that they do, also the law enforcement agencies that are out there every day trying to stop the drug flow. We've been able to reduce it somewhat. But there's still a lot of work to be done. And so let me just give you a little bit of background history of our drug court program. In 2018, Gila County probation, we sent staff to Buffalo, New York, because they have one of the premier drug court programs in the nation. And they really have got that program down pat, and they do a very, very good job. Unfortunately, it's also a big jurisdiction, and so a lot of the things that they implement, we don't have the resources to do that. But we did learn a lot, and we came back and took about a year to process all the information that we got. And then in the latter part of 2019, we started our drug court program. And we came up with an iteration of that program which fit Gila County, small county. And during our drug court program since 2019, we have served 46 high-risk individuals as of the cutoff was May of 2025. And in March of 25, we had our opioid court program evaluated by the NPC research company, which was hired by the AOC to evaluate drug courts throughout the state of Arizona. And one of the recommendations that they made, there was a lot of things that we were doing right, but one of the recommendations they made is that we actually expand our drug court out to include other substance use disorders, not just opioids. Although opioids are a high problem in our county, we also have other addiction issues that we could bring into the program. And so I'm happy to announce that in June of this year, we are going to expand our drug court into a full Gila County recovery court, which will include not only opioids, but other drug addiction issues that we can address and bring more clients into the program. Let me just give you a little bit of statistics on our program here in Gila County. Average participant in our program is 34 years old. The length of their program participation is 400 days, so it's quite a commitment, both for our staff and for the participants in the program, over a year. 68% of program participants are male, 32% are female. And our probation officers' contacts with these individuals range from 5 contacts a week for high-risk individuals down to 1 contact a week for individuals that are at a higher level and ready to exit the program. They also receive anywhere from 2 to 15 hours per week of treatment through CBI, which is partnered with our program. And then I would like to quickly introduce you to our staff. So our recovery court is headed up by the Honorable Diana Cannon. And Judge Cannon, unfortunately, wasn't able to make it today. She had a hearing that conflicted. She was planning on being here. We also work with Indigent Services Office, providing defense attorneys when needed. And we also work with CBI, and Tyler Gephardt was a case manager with CBI who's done a lot of great work with our program. Our program is coordinated by Lindy Trimble. A lot of you may know Lindy. She's a native of Globe, born and raised, and she does a great job at our drug court program as well as the other duties that she does for us at the probation department. I'd like to recognize our probation officers, Taylor Mansour out of the Payson office and Eric Kenny out of the Globe office, as well as the surveillance officers, Ken Dillman and John Sheldall. And our program support, admin support, is Carrie Shaw and Charity Dale. And without their dedicated work in the program and the efforts they put in each and every day, the program wouldn't work. But they put a tremendous effort into it, and that's why we've had the successes we've had. And so I'd like you to consider making that proclamation to declare May 25th Treatment Court Month in Gila County. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Supervisor Humphrey.
No, it's thank you for your time.
No, for sure.
You know, all that you do to help people try to get back on a normal life is difficult, especially as tough as the world's getting to be. Sometimes to stand up to the reality of what it is and face it and try to deal with it is difficult. So thank you all very much for the time that you spend with these people to try and help them.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Supervisor Klein.
Thank you all as well. This is a big project to get wrapped around. I commend you all for diving in there and giving it your best shot, and hopefully someday we can turn this around, but we got to start somewhere. So thank you so much for that. I had one question for you. Besides CBI, who is our other providers, or are they the main one?
CBI is the main one for drug court,
Uh-huh.
but also clients can seek services through Horizons and Southwest Behavioral up in Payson.
Okay.
So,
Good.
but CBI is really the one that coordinates with the drug court program.
Okay, good. Thank you.
So, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I don't see a need to read the proclamation. We're going to be voting on just having. Okay. Would you like me to read the proclamation?
I can do it for you, Chairman, if you'd like.
Sure, please do.
You have.
Okay.
Yeah. Read
It's
all
my
of it.
first time doing this up front with the proclamation, so I wasn't sure the
Yeah, go ahead.
process. So the proclamation reads, according to All Rise, treatment courts are the most successful justice system intervention in our nation's history with reducing crime for addressing substance use and mental health disorders. And treatment courts save an average of more than $6,000 for every individual they serve, as I mentioned earlier. Gila County Opioid Court has served 46 high-need individuals, providing evidence-based treatment, interventions, and accountability through community supervision strategies. And treatment courts provide a wide range of economic benefits to a community, such as reduced costs in court and prison expenditures, increased tax revenues, lower foster care expenses, and decreased costs related to victimization. Treatment courts annually refer more than 150,000 people to life-saving treatment and recovery support services. According to All Rise, treatment courts significantly improve substance use and mental health disorder treatment outcomes and prevent fatal overdoses. Treatment court facilities, community-wide partnerships bringing together public safety and public health. There are now more than 4,000 treatment courts nationwide. Treatment courts demonstrate that one person rises out of substance use and crime, we all rise. And then the final line is we, the Gila County Board of Supervisors, hereby proclaim the month of May 2025 as National Treatment Court Month.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
I'll
you,
call
sir.
for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to adopt proclamation number 2025-06.
Mr. Chair, I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you very much. All right, item 3E, information, discussion, action to authorize financial department staff to disperse the remaining Arizona Department of Administration funding to line level deputies and detention officers for the Gila County Sheriff's Office in compliance with agreement number DBFFY23L22CH31304 that is between the Arizona Department of Administration and Gila County. Good morning again, Mayor.
Good morning. Thank you, Chairman. Supervisor Humphrey, Supervisor Klein. We received this funding initially from the State Department of Administration. We have made all the required payments from it, and we have a residual dollar amount that we have worked with the Gila County Sheriff's Department, or I'm sorry, Gila County Sheriff's Office team and finance to come up with a solution for how to equitably disperse the remaining funds. If you approve this today, we will come up with a list of who those individuals are. The plan is to use this funding to reimburse our staff for vacation time accrual that they have lost because they have hit the cap. So Sarah White from the Sheriff's Office and I will work together to come up with a list of who those individuals are, and then we'll make that payment out of these funds. The agreement DBFFY 23L22CH31304 requires that the funding be expended by June 30th. So we're here today so that we have plenty of time to get that done before the end of the fiscal year.
Thank you, Mayor. Supervisor Humphrey.
So this is overtime hours?
No, this is, so each pay period, staff accrue sick and vacation time.
Great.
We have a cap on the books of 240 hours of vacation that you can have. And if staff have that, they can't earn more. So this is going to be whatever over that 240 they should have earned, but hadn't been able to take or use. And there's $75,000 left in what the total the state sent us, which was $957,000.
Okay.
Supervisor Klein.
Aaron, thank you, and Sarah and everybody for doing this. I like to see that because so many people lose that time because they can't take it. They have to work.
Yes.
And so it's beyond their control, and I know a lot of them just grit their teeth and go on. It's just the way life is. But if there's a way of reimbursing them for that or part of it or whatever, that's a plus. So thank you for doing that.
So when we ran the numbers out, doing this gives those staff members back that time and gives us about 18 months to get those positions like fully staffed. So that we don't end up back in this situation where staff in those line level positions are losing that accrual. And the goal is to not have this happen again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the distribution though will be in a paycheck.
Yes.
It's not going to accrue more hours somewhere.
Correct.
Right, okay.
Correct. It won't accrue more hours, and these funds from the Department of Administration are specifically non-pensionable. So this does not affect PSPRS.
Okay. Thank you. With that, I'll call for motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to authorize Finance Department staff to disperse the remaining Arizona Department of Administration ADOA funding to line level deputies and detention officers of the Gila County Sheriff's Office in compliance with ADOA agreement number DBFFY23L22CH31304.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you, Maren.
Thank you.
All right, our next item, I'm going to call for a motion to table item 3F. We're not prepared to deal with that today.
Yes, Ms. Medina sends her apologies. She got stuck in the traffic going through Hayden and could not make it here in time.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second to table item 3F. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll bring that back June 3rd, we believe.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's move to 3G, information discussion action to authorize the advertisement of invitation for bid number 03182025, which would be the purchase of 2 new Class 8 10-wheeler water trucks.
Thank you,
Mr.
Chairman.
White.
Thank you, Chairman, Supervisors. This is simply just to replace, we got 2 water trucks right now. They're both over 25 years old. They're kind of at the end of their life. One of them has about 3 or 4 years left if we don't use it much, so we're going to transfer one of those to the landfill. Landfill doesn't put the miles on it or the hardship on it that our roads crew does. So this is just asking permission to go out to bid for these 2 water trucks, and then once the bids come in, we'll bring it back to you and let you know what the cost is and see if we can approve it at that time.
Very good. Thank you, Supervisor Humphrey.
Just one question. Are we gonna utilize the tanks and things on these existing trucks for the new trucks? Are we just gonna getting trucks, or are they gonna be equipped with tanks, pumps, that kind of stuff as well?
Yeah, they're going to be fully equipped with the tanks.
Okay.
Supervisor Klein.
I'm good, thanks, Troy.
Yeah, same capacity?
One of them's the same, 4,000. Well, they're both 4,000 gallons. The new ones would be.
Yeah.
One existing one's 4,000 gallons. Another one's a little less than that.
Okay.
So,
All right, very good. So with that, I'll call for motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to authorize the advertisement of invitation for bid number 03182025.
And I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All right, item 3H, information discussion action to approve contract number CTR 059323-3-GC1 based on Arizona State Procurement Cooperative Contract number CTR 059323-3 with Santan Auto Partners, LLC, doing business as Santan Ford in the amount of $845,967.20 for the purchase of 14 new Ford vehicles as outlined in the specifications. Mr. White.
thank you, Chairman, Supervisors. So this purchase is, as you know, over the last, I think, 4 or 5 years, we've gone on a vehicle replacement plan. Prior to Dave taking over, we really didn't have a replacement plan for our vehicles. Really about every 10 years, we should be swapping them out. That's when they typically end their life, but we had no replacement plan in place until Dave came on board. So this is part of catching us up. Most of these vehicles, I think the average age is 17 years old. So this is part of catches us up on our vehicle replacement plan. So we're using this state contract to purchase these. The state contract, as you know, they get bids from all over the state when they do this, and they get some of the best pricing that you can get on these vehicles. It's really hard to beat the state contract because the vendors know that they are going to be selling hundreds, if not thousands, of cars through this state contract. So our savings by using the state contract for these 14 vehicles is just under $80,000 in savings that we're getting. So out of the 14 vehicles, we've got 7 of the vehicles that are for general services, and that's just a little over $323,000. 3 of these vehicles are for the sheriff's department, which is just at $301,000. And the reason why theirs jumps up is because this includes the outfitting that they need. That cost is including in this quote. Also for facilities and land management, their vehicles is about $167,000, just a little over $167,000. So that's kind of the breakdown. Oh, there is one going to probation for $53,000. So that's kind of the breakdown of where these vehicles are going and what they're replacing. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Great. Supervisor Humphrey.
Yeah, when you reach out to the state for pricing on a vehicle, do you ask for a particular model of vehicle when you ask for pricing, or do you leave that open for the best price?
We typically work with the customer, which is our end user, whether it's streets, whether it's coming from her or the probation officer. We ask them what they need and what they're looking for. And then that's what we go onto the state contract and look for specifically is what they're asking for.
And Santan Ford, in this instance, specifically listed in their state contract each vehicle model and what their guaranteed over or under on MSRP is based on the state contract. So we know when we look at the state contract where the pricing hits based on MSRP, and that is listed on the state contract. ADOT went through and listed all the vehicles, makes, models, types, and then Santan Ford in this instance lists the percentage over or under, so you know exactly what markup there is or isn't on each of them.
I understand. I'm just saying, if we approached a Ford or a Dodge company wanting an a 250 or 150, I was just curious to what the price would be rather than going to Ford and see how Ford marks up theirs, and that's the particular vehicle. I would just be curious to see if we went to the state procurement and asked them what a Dodge or Chevy truck of the same quality would be priced.
Yeah, and on that, you will see this in fleet, is the standardization of fleet. Now, we do have some Dodges and some Chevys in our fleet, not many. We typically go with Ford. And back in the day, when it was an engine on 4 wheels, it was really easy to diversify your fleet. But the way that cars are made nowadays, they're basically a computer on 4 wheels. They have proprietary systems, proprietary software for their control system, for their sensor systems, for their smog systems. So it gets, as a technician, if you start diversifying too much, then you've got to have a whole different set of fleet technicians, and they've got to learn all these different systems. It's not like it was in the day, like I said, when it was an engine on four wheels. It's just the game has completely changed, and these systems are pretty much proprietary systems, and your mechanics have to learn that system, and it takes a while to learn that system. And if you're bringing in different ones, then they have to learn those systems. Not that they can't, but that's just one consideration. So for service continuity, you'll see that fleets, especially as of late, they're starting to standardize. The other thing with that is when you buy your parts in bulk, then you get a discount. And if we're too spread out, we have too many different vehicles in our fleet, then you've got to start carrying different parts. But I think one of the main reasons, and especially where we're at right now for Fords, a lot of people don't know this, but 80% of the Ford vehicles are made in the United States, far higher than even the second closest in the country. Ford is far ahead of every other manufacturer for the amount that they make in the United States. And they're at 80%, and nobody's even close to that. So what that means for us is if we have a part that we need or service tech assistance or anything like that, really it's for parts availability, to be honest with you. With the way that the tariffs are right now, not that this is a long-term consideration, but certainly for where we're at right now, if we start branching out, parts could become difficult to get a hold of. That's a consideration that we have to really think about. But with Fords, it's just the availability of the parts because they make 80% of them here in the country. So it's an easier thing for us to maintain.
Thank you for the argument on selling me a Ford. Do you drive a Ford?
I don't. I drive a Dodge Ram.
But their parts are more available.
Exactly.
Okay, no, that's fine. It's just overseeing the constituents' money.
Yep.
And I constantly get, since I've been a supervisor, hit with Fords. I got a Ford, I've got a Dodge, I've got a GMC, It doesn't matter to me. I mean, the gas pedal's all on the same place, the brakes the same place, the blinkers are the same place, the keys the same place. So I'm just wondering for the constituent money, the cost. And I never get the cost. I get why we're driving Fords. And I've heard that argument from several different people, and I keep bringing this up. I just want to know what a Dodge of the same quality would cost for my constituents, and I never get that. I get why we're driving Fords. And so, okay, I'll let you off the hook. We're done arguing over why we only buy Fords, but it's something I'm going to keep bringing up.
Sure.
And so, and it's an argument that I'm just going to keep bringing up because I never get a cost on a different vehicle of the same quality.
Understood?
So thank you.
Understood and
No more
received.
questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Klein?
Oh, I don't care. I like my Ford, so I'm good. Hey, I do have a question though, because we're looking at 14 new vehicles. And so do we currently have a backlog of vehicles that we need to auction off? I mean, this is just gonna add to that group of vehicles that we already have. Where are we with that process? Because that looks like we're gonna have quite an amount of cars, our own car lot maybe.
Well, it does take a while to get a new vehicle right now. So when we put this out, it's still probably going to be between November and January when we get these vehicles. We are in the process of bringing some new staff on in finance, and when we get a new person in that position, we will be ready to have a vehicle auction. It'll probably be January or February of next year.
Yeah, I just know as longer they sit in storage, you know, it attracts mice, squirrels, and that will eventually render them totally useless. So I was curious, and especially with the fact we got 14 new ones that will add to that.
Well, and the vehicle replacement plan does cycle the vehicles through, right? So as Troy's showing you here, you've got vehicles going into general services, sheriff's department, facilities, and probation. And then as those vehicles cycle out, they will either go into the fleet for people to use around the county, or if they are truly at the end of their useful life, they can go to surplus and then they'll be auctioned off. And when we get this information from Mr. LaForge and now from Troy, there's a list that shows us, okay, this vehicle that we're going to buy for general services, for example, is replacing this vehicle, and this is what the disposition of that vehicle will be. We can certainly start including that with the agenda items if you'd like, instead of waiting until we get the surplus auction agenda item. That way you have a running knowledge of that if you prefer.
My thing is, Marin, is I just like to see those vehicles leave as soon as we can, so that they're not stored up and become a detriment. And that just means more money for us as a county. You know, somebody buys a vehicle, they can drive off the flat, or they gotta go tow it somewhere and have it fixed because of mice and squirrels that tore it up. That's where I'm at. I know what you mean about shifting vehicles around, like with these 14, but somewhere along the way, there's gonna be a vehicle gonna hit the auction block. And so
In fiscal 26, with the new finance staffing approach, we are going to come to the board and ask for permission to have quarterly surplus auctions hosted online so that we can eliminate that storage challenge. We do not currently have enough warm bodies to do that.
thank you, Marin. Thank
Sorry.
you, Troy.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. White. So, I like Fords. I think they make a very high-quality vehicle, and I agree with the arguments you've made. It would be interesting to know, though, if a GMC, Chevy, or Dodge or something that's comparable, what it prices out at. So is it within $500, $1,000? And for the reasons you already have given, you can say, but we recommend the Ford for all these reasons. We believe it's a higher value, or even though it's costs a little bit more, and this is how we feel it's going to be the most cost-effective long-term. It would be interesting to know.
Yeah, I agree, and I think in our future staff reports, I think that makes perfect sense to include that. That way everybody has the cost comparison of what we're looking at for apples to apples. We can certainly do that when we bring this
Yeah,
forward
and
in
not always the
future.
cheapest is the best buy. And
Right.
so, I'm completely sold on having a fleet of one type of item because of all the tooling and different things like that. But anyway,
Mr. Chair, if I may.
yes, sir.
Troy, with the state procurement, I'm glad it works for vehicles. I'm glad the state procurement process works for vehicles, because I don't like it. But wouldn't they have that information as far as vehicles go readily available that, if you're going with Fords, this is the lowest contract that's out there or whatever? Do they have to constantly re-up that?
No, they have it out there. We can get that information fairly simply.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. With that, I'll call for motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve contract number CTR 059 323-3-GC1 with Santan Auto Partners LLC, doing business as Santan Ford as presented.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second, and those in favor say aye.
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 Nay.
Okay, we have 2 in favor and 1 nay. Supervisor Humphrey is the nay vote. Thank you. Now, let's move on to item 3I, information discussion action to approve modification number 002 to Cooperative Forest Road Agreement number 20-RO-1103-1200-003 between Gila County and the United States Department of Agriculture Forest Service Tonto National Forest, which will update the points of contact for the respective parties and extend the expiration date to September 30, 2026. And we have Alex with us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Board of Supervisors. As I mentioned at the last Board of Supervisors meeting, I'll be bringing a series of contract agreements between the county and the Forest Service to you. This agreement is the master agreement for all 200 plus miles of roads for the Forest Service that we maintain for them. We know that as Schedule A, and so this is an extension of the existing agreement, which will expire in September of this year. We would like to extend it 1 more year, and then again, like the previous one, update the contact information so that we have the right people being notified by the Forest Service when something comes up.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no questions. No.
Okay, Supervisor Klein.
Alex, thanks for doing this. My only question would be on the master agreement part has that been reviewed in more recent years? Maybe there's roads out there that we don't want to maintain. Maybe there's new roads that maybe we want to switch out and add something to.
Yes, so we actually have a quarterly meeting with the Forest Service, and that has been brought up. The reason we are only extending this or requesting to extend this 1 year is so that we can actually get that list together and get it before both the board and the Forest Service and get a new agreement, maybe a 5-year agreement after this one is done, so that we have that in place.
Okay, I remember the conversations quite a while back when I first came into here. There was a lot of roads taken under this agreement with the thought it would help benefit us on the HERF dollars. The more miles, the more dollars, which isn't necessarily the case at all.
That's correct. This is not a one-to-one.
And so that will be worked on maybe in the next year.
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Alex.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. With that, I'll call for motion.
Mr. Chair, if I could
Yes.
ask one more question. In your negotiations with Forest Service, are we discussing the use of these roads now compared to 10 years ago with all of the new UV vehicles and all of that kind of stuff? I mean, there's lines of 30 and 40 of them. So agreements that we had and the quality of the roads years ago were different than they are today, and the use of them is just almost abuse of them. And
Yes.
so is that coming into your communication with the Forest Service on the conditions of the roads and probably the more maintenance that's necessary than used to be?
Yes, the road classification, from the Forest Service is included in this agreement and will be included in future ones, and we will make sure that those classifications are evaluated before we bring the future agreement before you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, if that's enough, then we'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve modification number 002 to Cooperative Forest Road Agreement number 20-R0-11031200-003 with the United States Department of Agriculture, Forest Service, Tonto National Forest as presented.
And I'll second that.
Okay, motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. 3J is information, discussion, action to approve various intergovernmental agreements to jointly cooperate in Gila County's 2025 summer work employment program with the following entities. The City of Globe, $7,608. The Town of Miami, $22,824. Town of Hayden, $22,824. Town of Winkleman, $19,020. Town of Payson, $15,216. Hayden Winkleman, USD, $38,040. And Young Public School, $7,608. Good morning, Kathy.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. It's that time of year again. It's Gila County Summer Work Program. This program has been going since 2017. That was year one under this board, and it was pretty much just departments, county departments funded. Then in 2018, we started with actual county funding aside from county departments, where we went out into the community. So we're up now to, well, we'll go to mine. Here are the IGAs listed and the number of participants for each one of them. We're down a little bit in some of the communities as far as like asking for workers, but our total workers requested this year from communities and school districts is 35. And that totals out to funding spent $125,532. Through the years, so since about 20, now I'm gonna forget. We've been talking to Pinell County. That was probably 2020 as we talked to Pinell County to help us out, because over in the border there in the Copper Corridor with the Hayden and Winkleman area, well, in Kearney, which is in Pinell County, we just didn't have enough money to go into Pinell County and kind of help them out. Our job job posting doesn't say Gila County only, but those kids were kind of coming across the border. So we've been talking to the Supervisor Surtees' office, and this year, for the first time, Pinell County will have, they'll have their summer work program. And I spoke with Supervisor Surtees' office, and for their first year, they received 137 applications, and they're going to fund 75 positions. But they do that strictly through their departments. So they're going to work on getting funding set aside through the county Board of Supervisors to get it funded additionally with their communities. But right now, it's just internally with their department. So that's a pretty good, of course, Pinell County is pretty big, but that's a good first year for them, 137 applications and then 75 funded positions. Right now, Gila County's applications total 85, and the positions will close next Monday on May the 19th. And then we start interviews the next week, the day after Memorial Day on the 27th. We'll start interviewing, and we interview every application that we receive. Like I said, we've got 85 applications as of today, and the more that come in, we'll be adding those to the list, and then we interview every single one of them so that they all at least get that experience of being interviewed. The cost per worker, I think when we first started this, the costs were somewhere like minimum wage for Arizona was around $9 an hour. So you can see it's $14.70 now. Plus the ERE costs, employment-related expenses, are another $1.15 an hour for a total of $15.85 an hour. So the county's investment just for our communities is $125,532, but that does not include the county department's investment. And they typically fund those out of unfilled positions. So that's how that all works out. And I really thank the county departments for doing that, because it's a big commitment for the summer. And here's some of our county departments that we know right now are interested in positions. And they kind of come to us as soon as they know it's coming out there, they start thinking about it in May, and they come forward and help with that. Must be, I know what 2024 versus 2025. Last year, as you recall, we got a lot of extra funding from the Arizona Office of Economic Opportunity. So our program last year was $306,140. That also included money from the Forest Service, and we partnered with the Arizona Conservation Legacy, where we did 2 YCC crews, one in the north and one in the south, which was the first time we've ever had 2 crews in the same year. So that was great, but that all came from that extra funding. Unfortunately, even though I asked this year, we did not receive any extra funding from Office of Economic Opportunity. I think they're not accepting my calls. Kidding. So anyway, we don't know with the current circumstances with the Forest Service and the different funding that we'll probably ever be able to have that opportunity again to do those 2 crews. Because we lost some folks in the Forest Service that were key in getting the grants, because it was an internal Forest Service grant. Those folks are gone. Arizona Conservation Legacy, same thing, kind of a shakeup and a rearranging, and so we've lost those contacts as well, but we can keep trying out there. But anyway, we appreciate over the years everything that we got done with them. Here was a YCC crew accomplishment list, as you can see, and those were from Southern Gila County, and I never did get a report from the Northern Gila County YCC crew, but I think their accomplishments were pretty typical projects that they did, which, as you can see, that was a lot of help out in the woods. And those kids, we attended their graduation last year in, what was that, June? No, when was it? No, end of August. End of August. Supervisor Klein and I had attended the graduation ceremony up in Payson, and it was really nice, and those kids did really enjoy it, and they got a lot out of it. A few of them actually said they were going to try to get a job with the Forest Service. Not sure how that's working out this year, though. City and town workers, these are the things they did last year. They all say that they really appreciate having the kids along. Now, Superior, we were able to fund their Pinell County, but that's with the extra money that we got. We were able to branch out into Pinell County. That was part of our application, that we wanted to help out those areas, Superior and Kearney. So those are the places where we place kids. The Miami Senior Center, Public Works, the library, they cross-train their kids from department to department. So they'll take somebody from Public Works and put them over into the office for a while, or they'll, the library, they usually cross-train like with the library and the senior center, and then bring them into town hall. So they do a lot with them as far as working them around. Winkleman typically just takes outdoor workers, and they do a lot with their Public Works director. The kids have really learned a lot through their Public Works office, and they do get a lot done over the summer with them. A lot of weed eating, painting, fence building, working on their Ramada down in the Winkleman Flats, that kind of thing. Our program dates this year, June 2nd through July 18th, 6 weeks. It's posted right now on the county website, and as I said, it closes May 19th, a week from yesterday. And the interviews will take place as soon as we can, as soon as it closes. And I believe we start the day after Memorial Day on the 28th. And as I said, we do interview every application, which takes a lot of time. So I think that must be it. And I think that's it. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Kathy. Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no questions other than just comment. It's great to plant a seed. I remember 2017 when we started this, it was out of constituent funds to try to get things going as we could, and then Supervisor Klein and Kathy, you guys kind of took this over and see what it's grown into today, and the people that we've been able to help, and like you say, the future employees that are going to be employed by Gila County or the Forest Services. It's great to plant a seed and 8 years later see something like this where it's state funded and HR's, dealing with it and things of that nature. It's just, it's one of the successes of Gila County, in my opinion, to be able to help our youth go forward, and so I think it's a great program and thank everybody that has participated and works hard for it.
Thank you. And we do, I have to say, this year too, we lost a key player down in the HR department when Erica Raymond resigned, but Larissa Talamontes is doing a great job. She's really picked up. She's, a new, fresh set of eyes, and she sees how we can improve things and maybe do things a little bit better. So she's been great. There's been no glitches in it at all. The busy part is getting these IGAs out and getting them back, getting them signed, getting them back. That's one of the biggest hassles. And then once we get through that and we get the interviews take place, it really runs itself because the communities are all supervising these kids and our county department heads. So we really have very little problems during the summer. They're pretty well taken care of by all the supervisors out there. Do a good job.
Thank you. Supervisor Klein.
Kathy, thank you. Kathy does spend a lot of time on this, and so did Erica and now Melissa, so it's really good. And Rick, thank you and your office for helping out on that. What Supervisor Humphrey said is true. I remember that first year, I think we had 3 kids.
Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, we were darn sure at the ground level getting started, and it really has been an exceptional program, but this isn't something new for Gila County. This program was carried out in the years past. And so there is quite a long list of folks that went through a youth type program to be where they are today. Sherry Grice is one of them. And so, and then this morning we seen another young lady standing here, and that right there is really good. There's a lot of other kids that went on to pursue careers, whether it was in health services, the law field, whatever it was, operators, and they've done well, as far as I know. I would say 99% of these kids make it through. We may have had one snafu with a kid or two, but that's about it. Everyone else has been going right on through it, and then we've had some year-end repeats that come back and whatnot. Some really good stories out of all this. There really is. There's not enough time today to tell them, but there has been some really good stories from these kids, and it's a pleasure to be able to see we can put money towards a program like we're doing with this outcome. I think that's great, and so.
In addition to when you heard about Maria this morning, Tyler Shreve up in Payson was also one of our summer workers. We had him for a summer. He came back part-time, then he left, and then he came back again. So
yeah,
we were glad to see him. He's really good.
Yep, it's valuable, and thank you for all that you've done. What does the USD stand for after Hayden Winkleman here?
Unified School District.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, the town.
Yeah.
Cool, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. With that, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve various intergovernmental agreements to jointly cooperate in Gila County's 2025 Summer Work Employment Program with the entities as presented.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you. Let's move on. 3K, information discussion action to approve Economic Development Agreement number 04212025 between Gila County and the Pleasant Valley Community Council in the amount of $10,000 to support the renovation of the commercial kitchen located in the Pleasant Valley Community Center, which the board has determined to be for the benefit of the public. And this item is Supervisor Klein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. They reached out to us a while back to do a remodel over their kitchen part of their building and go in, and it's a complete remodel. And so we're wanting to participate in that. In addition, with us, APS looks like they're going to be a cooperator in this as well. So it's going to be a joint venture. The community center in Young right there, it hosts a number of different functions and events and things like that. The kitchen itself gets a lot of use about every month for one event or another, including like the gymkhanas that are held there at the arena. They use it for the kids and so forth. So So it's really good. It's a pleasure to be able to help support that and see the progress there. I seen pictures here, Paul, a few days ago. It's looking good. Be done here shortly, and it'll turn out good. Not happy to answer any questions.
Well, thank you, Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no questions.
I have no questions either. Oh, I do have a question. So this building, is it right by the arena?
It is.
Yeah.
It sits right next to the arena and the fire department.
Okay.
And so this building, that's another thing. In Young, there's not a lot of opportunities or space to use. So along with that, in the years past, the community center was used to stage firefighters, feed firefighters, all different sorts of things. I mean, it's 5,000 square feet, this building is, so there's a lot of room there, and in elections and everything else as well. And so it gets a lot of use. It's good to see. And it was, the other thing I will say is that building was built totally by volunteers, 100%. And it's a well-built building and looks good, so.
Okay, thank you. I'll call for motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve Economic Development Agreement number 04212025 with the Pleasant Valley Community Center as presented, and which the board has determined to be for the benefit of the public.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Right, we have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item 3L, my item. Do we have anyone from the Payson Pilots Association? Okay. Let me read this. Information, discussion, action to approve Economic Development Agreement number 04062025 between Gila County and the Payson Pilots Association Incorporated in the amount of $2,500 to support the Payson Aero Fair scheduled for October 18th, 2025, which the board has determined to be for the benefit of the public. And go ahead, introduce yourself, please, and tell us what is the Payson Aero Fair?
My name is Brad Lawrence, and I'm the chairman of the Aero Fair 2025 this year. And as we've had many Aero Fairs in the past, this is a call to the community in the county and the town to bring people out. And we'd like to expose young adults and the youth to flying, as we have already in the last couple of years sponsored 5 youth in training them to fly, be a pilot, get into the aviation industry. We've raised over $60,000 to $70,000, which goes towards training these kids. I love McDonald's and everything, but I don't want to see them being a server at McDonald's for their whole career. So I'd like to uplift these people, and for the benefit of the youth and the young adults, exposing them to this industry. Okay.
All right, thank you for that. Supervisor Humphrey.
I would imagine putting them in a plane would uplift them. No question.
Supervisor Klein?
Yeah, thanks for doing this. I know that Aero Fair, it attracts a lot of people. There's a lot of folks that are there. So anyway, thank you. It's a good project.
It's a good project. Not only helps the kids, but also it's a good economy for the town of Payson. It's a good awareness thing. There's food, there's vendors, there's static displays, lots of great stuff there. And so I'm happy to support them through some of my discretionary funds. So with that, I will call for motion.
Before I make the motion, Mr. Chair, can I ask you one more question?
Sure.
The Payson Pilots Association also maintains a lot of these other airstrips, these rural airstrips still, don't they, around?
I couldn't answer that. I don't know. Does the Payson Pilots Association help maintain some of the more rural, remote airstrips? Like I remember in the past, some of that.
That's a good question.
It's like
the Arizona Pilots Association, who I was a former board member of, they do go in the backcountry in some of these small airports and maintain them. The Payson Pilots Association really focuses on all the aviation activities take place in here.
Okay. I remember Paul Pitkin, he's still around, and he would help work on like Grapevine and
Right.
really remote, just, I mean, you wouldn't even know they were there sort of thing, so. Anyway.
If maybe somebody, if you find out, you can let me know, because I'm real curious about that. But anyway, I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve Economic Development Agreement number 04062025 with Pace and Pilots Association Incorporated as presented, in which the board has determined to be for the benefit of the public.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you, Chairman, for coming and presenting that. Appreciate it. Let's move on now to item 3M, information discussion action to adopt a proclamation number 2025-07 proclaiming May 2025 as Mental Health Awareness Month in Gila County. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning. Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Thank you for having me up here. This is sort of piggybacking off of what Chief Probation Officer Keith presented earlier about their issues with drug addiction and crime and things like that. As you know, our health department works closely with a lot of these community organizations to try to address some of these increased mental health issues. Suicide seems to be on a huge increase in Gila County, drug addiction, and mostly with the youth that we see out there. And so with our community partners in this particular situation, we'd like to have this proclamation to make the public aware of some of these issues that we're dealing with in our youth in Gila County with this proclamation. I could read it if you would like, Chairman, or you could just approve the proclamation as is. It's just an awareness that we are seeing an increase with the youth in Gila County with suicides and drug addiction, and we're trying to address that with the health department and our community partners out there. And we're trying to do everything we can, even working with the Chief Probation Officer and his team and the SO and some of these other organizations that could provide some of these services and try to attack the problem and prevent the issues. It's a sad trend, and we're trying to turn that around. So I'll take your lead, sir.
Okay, thank you, Michael. And I also see that we have Michelle Nelson and someone else, I can't tell, here today. And so they are present, and it's of their concern as well. So first, let's see if there's any questions from the board. Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no questions. I think it's great to bring up, a proclamation for the month, but it's a 12-month issue. But I think that it's nice to be recognized if it is just for the month, but like I say, it is a 12-month issue. So I'm glad we're bringing awareness to it. And that's all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Supervisor Klein.
Michael, thank you. Mental health is a serious deal. And I know that the drug issues plays a toll in that as well. Many issues do, but it's good that we dive in there and try and do something, you know. There is a lot to it, but thank you and your team for putting this together.
Welcome.
Yes, thank you. So let me ask Michelle, who's with you, Michelle, and would you like to read the proclamation?
I don't have a copy of it, but I'd love to read it. And I want to reassure you with what you just said. It is a 12-month program. Today with me is Echo Helmet. She's actually one of those young people you're talking about. I am working with the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and Gila County Health has just recently partnered with us. Their social media person, Nikki, is working with us. We have a social media outreach campaign for NAMI, Arizona. It would help me if you all went on your Facebook and Instagram, and if you have TikTok accounts and like NAMI, Arizona. I also do a podcast called Strength Beyond Struggle, and Echo has an episode with me. And the unique thing about what we're doing is we're trying to get into Gila County classrooms and in front of any middle school and high school people. So I need your help with that too. We can go in front of Boys and Girls Clubs, we can go in front of churches. We don't have to just go into schools. We had a real struggle getting into schools to talk about this. which is interesting. The only thing I can think of is its stigma. But the program we do is called Ending the Silence. I'm going to put her echo forward, Ending the Silence. And on the back of her shirt, it says 15 to 24 is the average, is the age range with suicide is the second leading cause of death. And during the pandemic, suicide was the #1 cause of leading death for our 15 to 24-year-olds, and that's just tragic to me, and that's why I'm doing this, as well as I have a child with a mental health condition. But Echo is trained, she's in her 20s, and we train 18 to 30-year-olds to go into classrooms and other places to speak to kids about their journey with mental health, from when the crisis happened to how they learn to live with it and what their advice is. And I would love to have Echo tell her story. I don't know if we have time, but do you have any words, Echo, to tell these gentlemen, because you're the youth that they're talking about?
Yeah, so I think that it's something that's not talked about a lot, specifically in rural areas. You can go to Phoenix and they have resources like crazy, but you come to a place like this and you don't really know what your resources are until it's nearly too late, and that's what happened with me. And honestly, I think it's something that as public servants, it's something that should be on the forefront of everybody's mind. Because, you know, like, no offense, but you guys aren't going to be around forever, and people like me are the ones that are going to take over your positions, and there's going to be nobody to take over your positions if mental illness continues to decline and you have the lack of resources. So it's super important for me and Michelle, and then of course the youth of Payson and Gila County and other rural areas, to be able to have these resources, to have the ability to have access to life-saving health care. That is what this is. I mean, however you want to try, like, however you want to divide it up and think about it, this is life-saving health care. So I think that's a great way to look at it and think about it. And ending the stigma and being able to talk about it is step #1. And that's what we're doing here right now.
And I want to thank the Gila County Health Department and Josh Beck and his employees Shayna and Nikki. Nikki is a social media person, and she jumped on supporting NAMI Arizona's outreach because the young people are living online. We got to go on there. I had a high school counselor tell me that social media's done one thing right, and that's to open the conversation about mental health. And I don't know if you guys know, but 60% of your inmates in the county jail struggle with a mental health condition. 40% of inmates in federal prisons have a mental health condition. It's hard to believe because I grew up in a farmer's family, and they said, put on your britches and go out and work it off. Well, we don't have that work anymore, and our kids we have epidemic of suicide ideation, of anxiety and depression. And so again, what Echo says, we just talked about it, and NAMI Payson has an office. We offer classes and support groups. I'd love to talk to the probation department, if not maybe offering some of our classes to your folks too. But again, like Echo said, we just talk about it. I'm so thankful and grateful that you gentlemen are taking the time to make this proclamation to say something about this, because May is Mental Health Month. And I'd just like to reduce the anxiety and depression in the world. Thank you for helping us.
Yeah, thank you, and thank both of you for being involved in this. And I do think it's important enough to read it. I'm going to ask Michael to do that, get down to the therefore part, I think.
Absolutely, sir. So this proclamation of the Gila County Board of Supervisors proclaiming May 25th as the Mental Illness Awareness Month in Gila County. Whereas the U.S. Surgeon General has issued a public health advisory concerning the alarming increase in mental health concerns among teens, with an emphasis on the negative impact of isolation and social media. Nationwide, mental health problems among our youth have been increasing, and according to the Arizona Department of Health Services, May is recognized as Mental Illness Awareness Month across the nation. And whereas the statistics around adolescent mental health have increased, 40% of students in 2023 reported coping with persistent feelings of sadness and hopelessness. According to the Federal Centers for Disease Control, 10% of children ages 3 to 17 suffer from a diagnosed anxiety disorder. 10% of children have been diagnosed with a behavior disorder. 4% of children have been diagnosed with depression. 37% of children with a mental health disorder have multiple diagnoses. And 20% of students seriously considered attempting suicide. And whereas treatment rates remain alarmingly low for teens suffering from depression, attention deficit, hyperactivity disorder, and behavior disorders. According to a meta-analysis of 40 studies on the National Institute of Health online library, shame and stigma remain a major barrier to diagnose and effective treatment. And whereas Gila County has consistently suffered a much higher teen suicide rate than the statewide average, and chronic absence in Gila County schools has increased alarmingly. 81% of Gila County teens have at least one of 9 adverse childhood experiences that include a family history of things like drug use, alcoholism, abuse and neglect, bullying at home, or the disruption caused by a divorce or separation. Studies show adverse childhood experiences increase the risk of mental health disorders, substance abuse, and problems in school. And whereas the Gila County Health Department and its partners are committed to education, treatment, and access to care, as is the Arizona chapter of the National Alliance for Mental Health, in partnership with the Arizona Healthcare Cost Containment System, offers the Ending the Silence educational program at public schools in Gila County and across the state. American adolescents face a mental health crisis according to local and national surveys. The pandemic accelerated a rise in mental health problems among teenagers, with only modest improvement since the peak of the disruptions in school and family life caused by COVID. The Gila County Public Health Department and its partners, including the National Alliance for Mental Health Illness, are seeking to address that crisis. The two organizations have partnered to increase resources, share connections, and collaborate to reduce the harm mental health causes our youth. And now, therefore, the members of Gila County Board of Supervisors do hereby proclaim May 25th as Mental Health Awareness Month and commends the National Alliance for Mental Health Illness, the Gila County Health Department and its partners for their efforts to help people understand the toll of mental illness, improve access to care, and reduce the debilitating stigma so often attached to mental health challenges.
Thank you, Michael.
Betcha, sir.
With that, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to adopt proclamation number 2025-07.
And I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. We have a short consent agenda today, items 4A and B. Supervisor Humphrey, would you like to speak on either one of those separately?
I do not.
Supervisor Klein, same question.
I'm good.
And I'll call for a motion to approve the consent agenda items 4A and B.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
I'll second that.
Okay, a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, now we get to call to the public. Cassandra, are we clear on that one? Okay. And we have someone in Payson that's been very patient. So this is the call to the public. We're not allowed to make decisions with regard to the comments made. We like to limit it to 3 minutes, and I can extend that if I feel I wish to. And Mr. Julian Anderson, who lives in Pine, is with us today in the Payson building. So, Mr. Anderson, please go ahead.
Good morning, Chairman. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. My address is on the speaker's form. I'm here in my capacity as the president of the Portals 1 and 2 Homeowners Association in Pine, Arizona. With me is our Vice President Pat Yang. Our community has about 260 lots and about 180 homes.
The reason I'm here is there is a home on lot 230, which is APN 301-62-183, which has been in a state of disrepair for more than 15 years. It was purchased in June 2018, almost 7 years ago, by a company that planned to repair, renovate, and expand it. Making a long story short, the company commenced construction in early March 2022 based on an inaccurate site plan. On becoming aware of this, the county issued a stop work order. Since then, the owner has twice applied to the County Board of Adjustment for amended setbacks and has twice been denied. The stop work order remains in place, and the incomplete building continues to be a hazard. Unprotected openings to subterranean areas, open deck areas, construction debris lying around. It's an eyesore as it deteriorates. It also has unresolved encroachment issues with its west side neighbor. The HOA has not been idle. It has worked with the homeowner on matters related to our CCNRs, but having exhausted all avenues open to it, it finds that its only remaining lever is to continue to limit various fines. The HOA has been in communication with the county building official in Basin, hoping to move things forward, but things don't move forward for a variety of reasons. The issue, as we see it, is primarily now with the owner, the homeowner, and the county. I'm here today to ask the Board of Supervisors to intervene to get the matter between the county and the owner resolved so that construction can be completed, or the building demolished, or some other practical solution found. Thank you. That's all I have to say on this matter.
Okay, thank you for that. I am aware of the house you're speaking of. I was just there a few days ago, and I've spoken to one of the neighbors, Mrs. Thompson. Mr. Albo, are you familiar with this property and what's occurring with it?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not familiar with it, but I've written myself a note, and I'll look into it after the board's meeting and then get information back to Mr. Menlove.
Okay, so I don't know how appropriate it is to really discuss too much, but I know that there's a legal points involved in this. Michael, is there anything that you can present to inform the board where we are? Because we're being asked by Mr. Anderson, the HOA, whatever, to intervene, and I'm not sure if we can do that, or could you please just let us know the situation? We're not going to be able to act on it today.
Yes, thank you, Chairman and members of the board. There is currently a legal proceeding against the owner of this property. I believe on Thursday, the 15th, is a hearing for this. In the past, work was done not appropriately on this property. Violation orders were issued. The homeowners went in front of the Board of Adjustment and requested variances. The Board of Adjustment twice denied their request. There is a legal pathway for the homeowner to come in front of the board to ask their decision on a variance if they so choose. They have not chosen that just yet. So currently there is a legal proceeding. So at this particular time, it's something that the board probably, my recommendation is to wait for the legal proceeding, and I could speak to you individually or as a group in a work session about this particular property. The county attorney, Jessica, does agree that at this particular time, we should refrain from sort of going in a full board meeting to discuss this.
Okay, all right. And
I
so
hope that answers some of your question. There were some, and sorry for the interruption, sir. I forgot to let you know that there were complaints called into our departments about this dilapidated structure, and we had the community development staff and the public health department, environmental health staff go out there. Rats and things like that were called in, and we did not see that. So that complaint was not valid, and neither was the building determined by the chief building officer, Randy Plumer, to be a hazard at this particular time. It could become eventually a hazard, and then we would require the homeowner to do something about that. But that if that does happen, then we would bring the homeowner to another hearing if they refuse to make the building safe.
Thank you for that. So, Mr. Anderson, I hope that that helps explain the position that we're in. I would be happy to intervene if I could. It's a nice neighborhood, and it should not be this way. And so we're gonna have to let that go through the courts, I guess. So, Mr. Humphrey, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Nope.
Mr. Klein?
No, I do not.
Okay, so thank you for your presentation. I think everybody understands, and we may have to look at this later, so we can't talk about it at this point. All right. Keep us informed, Michael.
You betcha, sir.
All right. Thank you for coming and presenting that today. Is there anyone else in Payson that wishes to present? No? Okay. Here in Globe, we have one person that would like to come up, and we've seen Mr. David Berry before, and he would like to come up and talk about property issues. Conflict of interest. Okay, sir.
Thank you for your time. Thank you, Mr. Humphrey, for assisting me in this and communicating with this. I respectfully urge you to take immediate action and defend public access to a road that is under threat in an ongoing civil case. The facts show that adverse possession is attempted to be taken on a public road that's providing access to property in Gila County. In addition, there's some serious conflicts of interest that undermine the county's ability to fairly protect the rights of its citizens, no matter if they have political connections or are new in the area. The plaintiff in this case has stated, "I have an excellent attorney. He told me not to take shit from this SOB or the police." This is after law enforcement told him not to trespass on the property. He's also publicly stated, "My attorney told me to put no trespassing signs up, put stuff back in the building." This was after police told him he had to remove signs and belongings from the building and not to trespass on disputed property. This statement reveals that his attorney has directly advised him to disregard lawful orders from Gila County Sheriffs as well as Miami PD. This is not a minor technicality or a remote interest. The attorney advising the plaintiff is currently employed by the Gila County Attorney's Office, the very office responsible for defending public interest and addressing criminal acts. This dual role creates an obvious and direct conflict of interest. The plaintiff's public statements on social media posts make it clear that this conflict is not hidden or subtle. The plaintiff boasts about his attorney's position using hashtags like double-dipping attorney and describes Gila County as a county run by the good old boys, a county that does not keep records, a county without management or lack of. The plaintiff's confidence in ignoring law enforcement is emboldened by his attorney's conflict of interest. He describes how law enforcement have told him to stop trespassing, yet follows his attorney's advice. He's continued to attempt to leverage this conflict of interest to assert control over the property and public road is a major issue. Gila County has a clear responsibility to protect public roads that ensure lawful access to all residents. When a public road is threatened by private claims of adverse possession, the county must act to defend the access to the property inside of Gila County.
Mr. Berry, are you almost done?
Yes.
Okay.
The county attorney's office conflict of interest has already led to a recusal in related criminal matters, but the same issues have not been addressed in the civil case, leaving the county's property vulnerable and private citizens responsible for protecting public property. If the county does not step in, the public risks losing access to the road permanently. I respectfully request that the county step in without delay. Thank you for your attention on this matter.
Thank you for those comments, Supervisor Humphrey.
Yeah, we can't go into this, but I can defend the county if I feel necessary. If I have checked into this, and if someone is trying to take adverse possession over county property, the county would defend it, and they can't take government property in adverse possession from what I have investigated. I do believe this road, this public road, is in the town of Miami's jurisdiction.
That is correct, but also provides access to property in Gila County.
No further comments, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor Klein.
I think this is deeper than I want to get into, so I'm good, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Berry. I don't really have anything to say to it, so thank you, though.
Thank you for your time.
All right. Let's go to our current events. Item number 6, Mr. Menlove.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I just want to say that the Michelson Building downtown Globe, that demolition is occurring, has been occurring, and is occurring this week. They are about finished with the second floor and will be going down to the first floor. Should be completely demoed in the next week or two. The City of Globe, in their council meeting, they have awarded a contract for architectural services to design that. And Mr. O'Driscoll and his team are working closely with the City of Globe on that design of the Michelson Building. Last week did have a meeting with the county managers and administrators for the state of Arizona. And one of the main concerns is that several of the highest people in the public safety personnel retirement system, the executive director, Michael Townsend, and other senior staff are all leaving in the next 6 months. Michael Townsend was part of Coconino County and understood the issues that challenged, as a board that you approved a refinancing of the public safety personal retirement system. So there's concern of that we need to heighten our concern for making sure that nothing goes wrong to put us at danger as a county for awarding benefits that are beyond what we're able to afford. I just want to let you know also that I will be down in the valley tomorrow and Thursday for small counties. I'm meeting with the CBA. James Canland is a lobbyist for CBA, and they wanted to meet with me regarding some issues in Gila County. Meeting with them tomorrow, and also small counties, and then the executive board for County Supervisors Association on Thursday. Next week I will be in Washington, D.C. for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then back in the Valley on Thursday. That is my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Menlove. Supervisor Humphrey.
Yeah, I held a Tono Basin community meeting on the 6th, held a dumpster day in Deer Creek Village on the 8th to clean up help them clean up their areas. Held a Roosevelt community meeting on the 12th, was on KQSS. Also on the 12th at 5:30, and also attended Miami Town Council meeting on the 12th. I'll meet with Danielle Monette from the governor's office this afternoon at 1:30 to kind of help discuss our blight issue and how I feel it's a state problem, a lot of it's not a county issue, and see where we can go with that. Also too, Mr. Marshall said that he would help carry a bill this year on that, so hopefully persistence will help us get something going in that direction. I'll meet with Deputy County Manager Michael O'Driscoll and team on May 14th, and Mr. Menlove if he is able to attend. And then I'll attend a Gila County Public Safety Monument unveiling ceremony on Thursday. And so that's about all I have.
Thank you, Supervisor Klein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So last week, me and Kathy attended the Veterans Hall of Fame luncheon on May 9th in Mesa, and that's where they honored and awarded Representative Marshall for his help and everything in the vet center and what he does and what he brings to the veteran community, along with law enforcement and other things. Really good turnout, a lot of people there. It was quite lengthy actually, but it was good. And then tomorrow I'll be at the ECO meeting in Phoenix, and then later in the week, actually next weekend, Sunday, Monday, I'll be pulling out for South Dakota to the WIR conference. I'll be gone all next week. And then one thing of interest is the National Weather Service had reinstalled a weather station back into the vet center. I didn't realize it had been there that long till Kathy brought it up this morning, but that weather center or weather deal right there was first established there in 1917. And what happened is when the folks with the Forest Service moved out of that admin site, no one was there to record it, tend to it, and all of that, so they moved it to the school. Well, because the vet center is back in there, we have people there, whatnot, they brought it back and put it back in place there. So pretty cool, you know. For once this morning, you know, I'm sitting there watching the news, and Young's on the deal, 0 wind speed this morning in Young, Arizona, which amazed me, but that's what it said. So that was quite interesting. And other than that, Mr. Chair, that was it. That's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to show everybody the very last commencement pamphlet that will say EA on it, as they will next year have their very own as an independent. So I was able to attend that, and that was nice. Thursday, coming up on the 15th, there's a First Responders Memorial here in Globe. I plan on going to that. And other than that, just plugging away with regular stuff. So that's about all I have to say about that. So let's move on. We do have an executive session today. Item 7A is information, discussion, action to enter into executive session for discussion or consultation for legal advice with the board's attorneys regarding the future appointment of Gila County Recorder due to the pending retirement of Gila County Recorder, Sadie Joe Bingham. And so I need a motion to retire into executive session.
Mr. Chair, prior to making a motion, how many were on our computer land today? We had 70 people on today. Great. Thank you all very much for attending a Board of Supervisors meeting today. You know, that's great when you look out in the room. We have staff and a few people that want to talk, but it's great that we have that many people interested in what's going on locally. So thank you all very much. And so now I will make a motion, Mr. Chair. I move to enter into executive session to address agenda item 7A for the reasons stated in the agenda item.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second to adjourn. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'd like to reconvene as the Board of Supervisors here, and there's no action on this particular item required today. Staff has been instructed to proceed as we have recommended in the executive session. So if there's nothing further, I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you.